Where you can ask your questions. And now the film is starting. I can invite to the stage the people of Chaos macht Schule, so chaos making school. And we have people, like we have a teacher, we have someone working at a university, and someone from the chaos community. Welcome to the stage.
Welcome to our talk, Education on its journey to the new frontiers. The three of us are in this chaos project where we educate schools, and we've been thinking about how to fill a curriculum on those topics in schools. We want to contrast our efforts to the efforts of politics in the recent past. The word Neuland that you see here is a citation of our Chancellor Merkel, who has described IT as new frontiers. We have integrated these technologies into large parts of the society, but in school you cannot feel much of it. So over the last 10 to 20 or even 30 years, IT teaching has not changed much. So calling IT a new frontier in school education is certainly adequate. So that you know who we are and from which perspective we observe this topic, I'm going to introduce ourselves. Steffen is a teacher in a high school. He is also a member of the Chaos Club in Mannheim. We have Dorina. She's a member of Chaos Club Hamburg. She's also a professor at the Technical University, where she teaches computer science. And I'm Bunny from the project. Well, all three of us are part of the Chaos macht Schule project. It is an initiative from the Chaos Club, and we are aiming to further enthusiasm and self-determined acting in the digital domain for students. And we go to schools for workshops. We introduce new technologies, we talk about the internet, social networks, and similar topics. We always put them in contrast and talk about both society and technology and advantages, chances, and risks. We've been doing this for 10 years, and we've collected some experiences. Politics actually has brought some changes to digital education. Here in Germany, it is part of the districts of the
Federal states.
German districts.
Its education is divided into the federal districts, so each county has its own education system, and Chaos macht Schule is working in 3 different federal states.
The discussion always mixes a number of different aspects, and that makes it very difficult to understand individual aspects. So digital education is going to be introduced by Corinna.
Thank you for these introductions. So our title of the talk, Education on the Way to New Frontiers, it doesn't come from nowhere. There are a lot of new developments in education. So one is how to work with new technologies within the classes. And also another one is about talking about IT classes in general, to have them established at school from elementary schools up to higher education. And the other one is of having actual technical equipment in school. And it's important to look at all three of those, and not just look at it and mix it up in one pot, but to differentiate it out into these three areas to actually find out where the problems are. So let's look at the technical equipment at schools. This could be a talk on its own. One issue is that there isn't enough technical equipment in the schools, tablets, computers. Another issue is that technical equipment goes out of date or sometimes even gets stolen. On the other hand, you can also consider if maybe too much of technical equipment is just introduced. So there are different kinds of cloud services being developed, and some are commercial and some are being developed at specific educational institution. There are different examples which are developed in different educational institutions, and you can ask the question, if you're not only reintroducing the wheel and could use these resources going into this development in better ways. But actually, the technical equipment shouldn't be in the focus so much, as there should be a very easy solution to it. 2016, an educational minister promised millions of euros to equip schools with technical equipment. It's kind of simple to decide to equip schools with technical equipment by just politically deciding to spend money on it. But if we are talking about technical equipment, the bigger problem is that teachers don't know a whole lot about it. They just get a short introduction how tools are working, how do you turn it on and off, and how to work with special features these tools have, but they are left alone how to actually use them with their educational concepts, how to introduce them into their classes. And if teachers want to involve it, they have to come up with their own ways to do it and have to spend free time on figuring that out. So the technical equipment is a little bit like the children we see on the slide with too many presents, and the child can only be concerned with one of them and is not able to look into the others. But technical equipment is only one of the issues. The second one is how do classes can be supported by digital medias. When we are talking about this, we are looking at different kinds of software. One of them is learning software. For example, software to learn vocabulary, which might be more fun than just working with your ordinary school bag and cover up one part of the page to learn the vocab. But there is also software to support pupils to work together on projects even from at home. And also there's administrative software where teachers and headmasters can use for administrative stuff, like Klassenbücher, which are class books where you register certain stuff about the class. But all of this needs to be used in the right way. If you do it wrong, it doesn't make sense. It's very hard. But in the end, from our point of view, all of these are only tools to do the create classes. It's not that different from working with an ordinary board or doing a chemistry class in a laboratory. So if you really look at it, we are not really a new frontiers in this area. If I look at the technical point of it, they are being used for 20 years. They are being tried out. They are being used. Some are better, some are worse, but that's also not the huge issue. So we come now to the third issue we have identified, which puts digital topics as the content of the classes, which we think is very interesting. In this area, also again, a lot of things are looked at in the same way, where we should differentiate it more. So we are talking about IT classes, which means educating children on the basics of our technologized world. This can mean programming languages, but it can also be about networks like the internet, or also about mathematical basics. From our point of view, this is elementary for children, for pupils to understand our technologized world and how to be involved in it. We can discuss how many hours per year this kind of classes should take place, or if it should be from the first class to the end, or only some years. But some other people are talking about, when they are talking about IT classes, actually mean how to use technology. Like, how do you find Wikipedia? How do you use different kinds of slides or like software? And I think in this room we should be all of the opinion that that isn't exactly the same, but it is talked about it as if it was the same. I've recently talked to a teacher who wasn't educated herself in doing IT classes, but only had took 2 days of IT classes herself, but now was supposed to teach the students in IT. So how is this supposed to work? So she was saying, yeah, I know it's a difference, but I can't only do IT classes, but because I don't really know how to. I will also teach how to use stuff, because I don't really have the education myself.
Manchmal sogar als eigenes Fach. Und Medienkompetenz, so wie wir es verstehen,
and media competence, as we understand it,
in der aktuellen Welt, so wie sie jetzt gestaltet ist, oder digitalen,
is about looking at the digital world as it is today, how to find your place in it, and how to make your own decisions in this digital world.
Bildungsalltag, sowas wie
This means in the everyday of education,
mit digitalen Medien, sowohl individuell
learning how to use digital media on your own or with others, how to create digital products like movies or presentations,
als Schutz auseinanderzusetzen,
or also be concerned about safety regarding media. A keyword here is fake news, or also mobbing, cyberbullying, or bullying in general.
Unterricht oder Medienkompetenz
So in this discussion, we should see that both IT classes and like how to use media, there's an important part missing, which is
digital mündig werden oder da in ihrer Mündigkeit gefördert werden.
which is so the topic we should be talking about is also self-determination regarding the use of media.
Aber Aber klar zu machen, wie wir das Ganze hier diskutieren, einmal kurz.
So to be clear about the way we are discussing this, we mean the capability of understanding and questioning digital developments and the chances and risk regarding this development, and to know how this works. And this is something different than simply understanding how the internet works or how to program a computer or how to work against cyberbullying. And we think in this area this should be stressed, that should be an important topic in all classes, not only IT classes. And we think this is the most important part of it, but this is rarely discussed regarding the big discussion on education. And in actual classes there is little development. So in different classes they actually learn stuff, and like they program stuff or they create networks, but these are only individual cases. And this is not actually surprising, because in the training of teachers it's not a huge topic. There's some programs offered, like I've been invited myself to talk about data security, which is only a tiny part of the topic, and it's only like a very little stuff offered in this regard, and it's not teachers don't have to attend these. So when these school students arrive at university, and when I talk with them about the social, the healthcare card, or about technology in cars, and the university students which turn up at university, they are very surprised by all the options we have regarding to technology. And that's not just general students, but they are actually studying technologies themselves. And I actually think all of these topics could be taught in schools with different age groups, with little or no technical equipment. You could talk about GPS and geography, or mechanical learning, and regarding languages. And like we have discussed a lot of options, what could have been done but isn't. We see a huge deficit. So we started questioning, how do educational policy actually work? How do you create the plans? What is being taught in schools? Why doesn't it start developing in schools? Why doesn't it get introduced? On policy discussions very high up, there are discussions being held. And Steffen will talk about how this is discussed in different federal states, and look at the example of Baden-Württemberg.
Thank you, Dorina, for introducing me, so that you know what my topic is. I will bring you a quotation from Claudia. She was the head of the Conference of Ministers. We wish that the students can participate in social life, and they can participate in a democratic way in society and in the constructive formation and change that we currently can see.
Einigen können auch wahrscheinlich das Symbol rechts erkennen, das ist Waus Phrasenprüfer, weil wir natürlich auch diese Zitate oder generell andere Aussagen der Politiker uns ein bisschen näher angeschaut
We
haben.
look at citations very closely, and on the right you see the device that our colleague uses to check terminology in politicians' speech. So here's the brochure that this head of the ministers' conference has published. This is the strategy paper that Darina mentioned. This is the title page.
Kultusministerkonferenz, das meint, wir haben ja in Deutschland, wie Benny vorhin schon euch gesagt hat, insgesamt 16 Bundesländer, die
So we have 16 states here in Germany that each of them decentralized takes decisions on the structure and content, their own decisions. Some have a different first language, or they all can make changes to the collection of topics themselves. So the conference of the ministers, of the education ministers, cultural ministers, is not binding, but it is more like an exchange medium. Somebody from the federal government also participates. So it's a very good system, and it is actually within the spirit of the hacker ethic, where we like decentralization.
Open educational resources ganz direkt gesprochen.
Open educational resources are explicitly mentioned.
Offene Lehrmaterialien, die haben eine im Internetzeitalter umso wichtigere, sehr freie Lizenz.
These materials have a free license, and they are listed in here.
Ganz anders arbeiten kann.
And a different kind of working is possible in there. You can collaborate, you can share.
Beziehungsweise im März 2018 geupdateten Urheberrecht.
And they are fully in compliance with updated owner's right, which is the German equivalent to the copyright.
Auch echte Mängel. Der Fokus liegt auf dem Medieneinsatz.
So here the focus is on using the media, and it doesn't really talk about being self-actualized in the topic, being able to participate.
Professionell, didaktisch sinnvoll, ja, aber digitale Medien halt nutzen.
So the use of the digital media is emphasized.
Können. Der Schwerpunkt, der hier ein bisschen aus unserer Sicht nicht ein bisschen schief liegt.
The focus point here does not find our approval.
Zum Beispiel gibt es daraus einen hohen Fortbildungsbedarf bei den Lehrkräften. Die nötige
IT-Ausstattung it causes it still demands that that education, that teachers get new training on how to use this and how to convey it. There will be problems because the cost will be borne by the distributed organization, by the local.
Aber auch aus denen ist bisher noch nichts geworden. Also Planungssicherheit ist es für viele Kommunen.
So even though money has been promised to further this out of the billions that have gone to the banks and been taken back, nothing has materialized for education yet. So this is from a little bit earlier. There was a decision. So it talks about making it part of teachers' education and teachers' further education. So it's been clear for a long time that this should be done. And the 16 countries are asked to implement those. So the speaker's state has actually started doing this, and he is a teacher, so he knows this. And his minister, Ms. Eisenmann, currently is the head of this working group.
Habe ich ein Schreiben ausgesucht, was genau 2 Wochen vor Weihnachten an alle Schulen ging in Baden-Württemberg.
So he's taking one letter that has gone to all schools, where teachers are encouraged to sign up for an initiative that's a teachers training on digitalization. And if you read it carefully, then the focus is on the use of digital media. So actually, it is a good encouragement for people to go to training and do new stuff. One aspect we find questionable. So if we start in 2018 training the teachers, when will it start actually percolating down to the students? When will it find a result in educated students? So we see that there will be a generational gap. There will be a gap of some students that have never received this education. In addition to the further education for teachers, there's the initial education of the teachers. Und die Leitung macht sich definitiv Gedanken, dass da and he's gone back to his old teacher training facility, and the leadership there is deeply engaged in making those topics part of the curriculum for teachers. Again, in that case, focus is on use of digital media and not assessment of impact. Hat einmal gerade eine Agentur gegründet, die sich ausschließlich mit dem Digitalen beschäftigt. Auch mit He comes from Heidelberg. In that town, there's an agency that only focuses on those topics. Navigation für Rollstuhlfahrerinnen und Rollstuhlfahrer. The town is using OpenStreetMap and doing creative projects with that. In der Stadtbücherei, da sind wir auch von Chaos macht Schule eingebunden. There's a project in the local library. Hackathons are being done. The mayor has made digitization a priority topic. So it all sounds very good. But from my work Germany-wide, I understand that this is not the only place, and others aren't as far. And that's cause for concern.
Medienbildung heißt es da, nicht Medienkompetenz, umfasst eben ja im Prinzip auch ganz vernünftige
Here again is the scope for the topic that is to be conveyed to students, and it is ranked highly in the priority.
Den Basiskurs Medienbildung. Das ist im Prinzip
and it will be implemented in 5th grade. There will be 30 weeks with one week each, 1 hour each for this topic.
Mediencurriculum heißt es offiziell, bleibt dann den Schulen überlassen.
Everything else is up to the schools.
Auch wieder sehen, dass eben die Schulen auch anderes zu tun haben. Wir haben
schools have many responsibilities, and most schools will find it extremely difficult to do justice to the topic or even exceed it.
Informatik.
So now the next point in my slides is new topics, and here it says computer science as a subject in school will be strengthened. So here's things like Calliope Mini are being mentioned, and Scratch is also being mentioned. So it helps getting acquainted with some areas of computer science. In some schools, grade 7 gets a furthering course on computer science, and he himself is teaching it.
Anders als bei der Medienbildung sind wenigstens die Inhalte der Informatik sehr
So
klar und
different from the
geregelt, wobei es auch
Medienbildung,
hier
which covers
Anfangsschwierigkeiten gibt, wie zum Beispiel kein vernünftiges
impact analysis and using technology for one's own
dass man
goals.
als Wahlmöglichkeit
Computer science is well defined, or already much better defined than the other one.
Kursstufenfach Informatik belegen kann.
There will be an option. There has been and will be an option to choose computer science in grades
dass nicht zu viele
11 through 13.
Inhalte in der Informatik landen, sondern dass
Now we
möglichst
have
sauber
to
die über reines
make sure that
Programmieren
we
auch weit hinausgehen.
that we
Und
clearly
das ist auch nicht
distinguish
damit
between
getan,
computer
dass man
science
für
and
Klassenstufe 7
Medienbildung,
zum Beispiel
which is the
2-eintägige Fortbildung macht für die
the
Lehrerinnen und
impact
Lehrer,
of media
die
on
dann das Fach
and technology.
sauber unterrichten können.
And this needs to be conveyed to the teachers as well, so that they can cleanly teach it in the one or the other course.
Ja.
Ja, die Folgerung aus dieser Bildungspolitik,
So the
die
conclusion,
Steffen
if you
beschrieben
look
hat,
at
ist, dass wir heute
educational
immer noch
policies and
sehr
the
analoge
political
Klassenräume
discussion,
haben, die
is
sich relativ
that
wenig von dem
classrooms are still
unterscheiden,
very
was ich
analog,
irgendwie in den 80ern
which
oder 90ern
aren't as different
in
from
der
what
eigenen
I've
Schulzeit
seen in the
erlebt habe.
80s and 90s to my own
Damals war es halt
time
so,
in
die
school.
Schulen hatten separate Klassenräume,
Back in the days,
hatten separate
schools had
Computerräume, die
separate
waren im Regelfall abgeschlossen
classrooms
und die
and
wurden hier und da mal
different from that
sporadisch im Unterricht
computer
eingesetzt.
rooms, which
Das
were
ist heute
locked
immer noch so.
and
Sehr
only
viele
occasionally
Schulen
were
haben immer noch
visited
abgeschlossene Computerräume
in
und
classes.
relativ
And
wenig
that's still the
Computer in
case
ihrem
in
eigenen
many
Klassenzimmer.
schools. And
Wenn wir das
only
Foto
very
genau
few
angucken,
schools
dann
have
sieht man
computers in their own classrooms.
Da ist doch tatsächlich hinter
If you
dem
look
Lehrer ein
closely at
Smartboard
this
zu sehen.
picture,
Das tritt also ein
behind
bisschen
the
in den
teacher
Hintergrund.
there's a
Es gibt da auf jeden Fall
smartboard.
schon irgendwas
Smartboard.
Digitales.
So at least there's a little bit of
Ich muss auch sagen,
digital
in Berlin
stuff
gibt es
inside.
da auch relativ viele von.
And
Das sehe ich relativ
if you look at
häufig.
Berlin, there's
Und
actually quite a lot
ja,
of smartboards in
Man muss aber dazu
classrooms.
sagen, mit
That's
diesen
kind of
Smartboards
common.
sind durchaus
But
einige Sachen möglich. Damit
you have
wären
also
halt richtig neue
to see that
Unterrichtskonzepte möglich. Allerdings
with
werden sie
smartboards
eher
there's a lot of
benutzt wie Tafeln, auf denen
possibilities
man noch Filme zeigen
where you can do quite a lot of them, but they are
Ich
mainly
frage, wenn
used
ich
to show movies.
Workshops im Rahmen von Chaos macht Schule gebe, in den Schulklassen immer gerne mal nach.
So when I do
Wie ist das denn eigentlich
workshops
bei euch im
in
Unterricht mit dem Einsatz
schools,
von
when I go to
Computern?
classes,
Nutzt ihr
I
Rechner
ask the students,
in eurem
how
Schulunterricht oder bei den
how is
Hausaufgaben?
it with
Nutzt ihr das
you?
Internet?
Do you
Und
do
in
you use
den
computers in
meisten Fällen
schools?
antworten
Do you
die
use them
Schüler
for
darauf,
homework?
Nee, also sie nutzen Computer und
And
das Internet kaum.
mainly
Höchstens mal
the
irgendwie
students
privat für die
say,
Hausaufgaben.
no, they rarely use the
Aber
internet.
dieses Smartboard in den Schulen.
Maybe
Das heißt,
they
es
use
wird
it for
oftmals
classes on their,
gar
not
nicht
for
so
classes,
richtig
but for
als
homework on their
wahrgenommen.
own, but like not in the classes itself.
Was man aber sagen muss, ist einfach, dass die Folgerungen dieser Bildungspolitik, die technischen
in conclusion,
Entwicklungen
when
seit
we look
Jahren
at
ignoriert, fatal sind. Und natürlich
as the
werden die
political
Probleme immer
discussions,
größer.
the consequences are fatal.
Wir haben
and
solche Inhalte der
become
Medienbildung haben wir
bigger.
bis heute noch nicht richtig ins Lehramtsstudium integriert.
The
Und bis das passieren
topic of
wird,
media
wird's halt noch mal
education
dauern.
isn't integrated in the
Bis
teachers'
dann wiederum
trainings,
die Lehrer
and
ausgebildet in den Schulen
until
ankommen, wird noch mal
the
viel mehr Zeit vergehen.
teachers
Das
are
heißt,
properly
da haben wir
trained
erstmal
in
eine ganz
this
lange
and
Spanne,
arrive
in
in the
der
schools,
erstmal in der
this
Schule
will take
relativ wenig
even
passieren
longer.
wird.
So
Hinzu kommt halt noch,
until
dass wir
this
ganz viele
topic
Lehrer
reaches the
haben, die
schools,
heute schon im
it
Einsatz
will
sind,
take
oder die
even
heute
longer.
ihr Studium abschließen
And
und
in
dann in die Schulen
addition to
kommen,
this,
die
there are
bereits nicht
already a lot of
Die
teachers
werden aber
in the
noch
schools
30,
or
35,
are just
40
finishing
Jahre
their
auch
own
immer
training and
irgendwie ihr
starting to
Berufsleben
teach,
durchgehen und werden
and they will
eben
stay
mit
in
dem
the
Wissen,
schools
was sie
for
haben,
many years longer,
gestalten.
and they aren't probably trained in this,
Fortbildungskonzepte
so
für bereits ausgebildete
they are
Lehrer,
still
damit sieht's halt
educating
eher mau
students
aus. Werden halt eben
without
auch
having
sehr
this
schwer
knowledge.
realisierbar.
And
Eine Wochenendaktivität
further
zu
education
machen,
for
kann
teachers
natürlich irgendwie
is
den
hard to
Defiziten, die halt
realize
bestehen, nicht mal
because
eben beheben.
just going to a weekend about
Ja, wenn wir natürlich irgendwie
how
sehen, wie Dorina
media
am Anfang
education
gesagt hat, oder wie wir in den
that
Medien oft hören,
won't
dass diese Diskussion sich einfach um die
like
fehlende Technik
be
an Schulen
enough
dreht,
to
das ist natürlich
actually,
eine völlig falsche Diskussion. Die lenkt natürlich
to
stark
actually
davon
help
ab,
the teachers who
dass
have no
es durchaus ein
idea.
ganz anderes,
And if you
viel
only
größeres
talk about the
Problem
technical
gibt, was
equipment
eben einfach
in
die
schools,
Fortbildung der
we are missing
Lehrkräfte ist.
out on the much bigger problem, which is the
Anschaffung
education
von
of the
durchaus
teachers.
notwendiger Technik
So
würden wir die Probleme nicht
the
lösen.
expensive
Solange die
costs of
Lehrenden damit nicht umgehen
buying
können, es ist
new
halt einfach
technology
herausgeschmissenes Geld.
won't solve the problems. As long as the teachers aren't able to use it properly, it will just be thrown out money.
Eben auch ein sehr wichtiger Faktor. Es reicht nicht, Rechner einfach aufzustellen.
It's not
Man
enough
muss
to
die
just
warten.
put
Das
up
sind laufende Kosten,
computers,
die meistens
but you have
in den
to
Schulen
tend
oder
to
von der
them and keep
Bildungspolitik
them up
überhaupt
to
nicht
date.
eingeplant werden.
And these are costs which aren't considered by schools.
Die Administration der Rechner
So the
übernimmt dann
administration of the
meistens der
computers
Informatiklehrer der Schule
is
oder die
mostly done
Informatiklehrerin.
by
Die
the
Person hat kaum
computer
Zeit dafür
science
zur Verfügung.
teachers, and this teacher
Das heißt, in der
very
Praxis
often doesn't have a
macht
lot
sie
of
viel von
time
dieser
to
Arbeit
this
einfach in
to
ihrer
do this.
Freizeit.
So in practice, a
Und
lot of
man
this
muss dazu
work
sagen,
gets done in the teacher's free
Informatiklehrkräfte werden
time.
aber nicht für die Administration ausgebildet.
And also,
Firmen machen das ja nicht
computer
umsonst
science
auch.
teachers
Administratoren,
aren't
die dafür
educated in
ausgebildet wurden, die
administration.
damit viel Geld
So
verdienen.
if you look at
Das kann man
companies,
eben nicht von einem Lehrer erwarten.
administrators
Sprich, wenn ein Lehrer das aber
administrators
trotzdem
get
macht,
a lot
was
of
er in seiner
money
Zeit tun muss,
and
dann
are
ist es einfach
specifically
so, dass
trained
man
to
eine
this.
schlecht
But
gepflegte IT-Infrastruktur
if a teacher has to do this
Daraus
without
resultiert dann
training,
wieder das Problem, wenn man diese
the
Technik dann mal einsetzen
the
möchte
technical
im
infrastructure
Unterricht, kann man
inside
sich
the
einfach nicht
school
darauf verlassen, dass sie
isn't
funktioniert,
well
woraus wieder
maintained.
neue Probleme entstehen.
And so if someone actually wants to use it, it
Ein
sometimes
typisches
doesn't
Beispiel ist
properly
zum Beispiel der
work.
Internetzugang an Schulen. Kann man sich
A
leider
good
relativ selten
example
darauf
is
verlassen.
the internet
Wenn
access
Schulen
at
gehen,
schools.
fragen wir immer nach,
In a lot of
gibt's eine Internetverbindung,
schools,
die wir nutzen können?
you can't really
Die
count on
Schulen
this.
antworten sehr
And
oft,
when we go to
ja,
the
es
schools,
gibt
we
eine,
often
aber
ask
verlasst
them,
euch nicht drauf.
can we count on the internet access?
man
And
auch
the
sagen muss, was
schools
Städten
often
dargestellt hat,
respond
Technologien
to
werden in der
with,
Lehre zwar
yeah, we have
eingesetzt,
internet
aber
access,
sie werden
but like
kaum
don't
hinterfragt.
count on it working.
Oder es wird darüber geredet, wie man sie halt gestalten kann. Dabei ermöglicht das Netz und neue Medien einfach eine
So this is
gesellschaftliche Teilhabe und
Internet
Gestaltung. Und sie müssen einfach nur
and
konsumiert
digital
werden.
media in general is
Da darüber
giving
relativ wenig
possibilities
diskutiert wird, stellt sich natürlich die
to
Frage, ob die
participate
Bildungspolitik das
in
Internet in dem Sinne auch
society
verstanden hat,
and
oder
not
das
only
Internet
to
und neue
consume
Technologien.
things. And
Eine
if you consider
Entwicklung,
this,
die man
you have to
heute
question
schon
whether
beobachtet hat, in ein paar
politicians
Jahren,
have
ist, dass
understood
Firmen immer
this
mehr in den
actually.
Bildungsmarkt drängen. Also ich meine damit
And
große
another
IT-Konzerne.
development is that huge IT
Wenn die
companies
Bildungspolitik das
are
Problem weiter verschläft,
going,
dass diese Entwicklung natürlich
are
noch
developing in the area of education. And
man kann
if
zum
the
Beispiel als Beispiel Google sagen,
politicians
die
don't
sind
keep
mit
up to
ihren
this,
Chromebooks an
this
amerikanische
development will
Schulen
be
sehr stark
reinforced.
verpflichtet. In Deutschland haben wir
For
das noch nicht
example,
so.
Google with their Chromebooks is
Und
very
in
common
Deutschland
in
hat uns
American
dieses Sommer aber
schools.
die Meldung
In
überrascht,
Germany,
dass Google
this
mehrere
isn't quite,
Bildungszentren in Deutschland
hasn't
eröffnet hat,
quite gone this
in denen
far,
sie halt die
but
digitale Bildung für die
Google has
Bevölkerung
already
vorantreiben wollen.
started opening educational centers where they want to educate the society and want to reach a lot of people. And the problem we are seeing here is that companies have their own financial interests and political interests, and this is going to impact the content being taught there. So maybe we should be talking about what should education generally be about. Should education in schools be a VT training to just train for one job? But, well, actually maybe not. Maybe it should be teaching you for life in general.
Schulen sollen Schülerinnen und Schüler befähigen, eine Berufsausbildung durchführen zu können.
Schools
aber die Schulen
should
machen
include
nicht die
job
Berufsausbildung.
training,
Doch
but
gerade
shouldn't
bei
be
unserem
the
Thema,
job training.
Also Technik, Digitalisierung, wird
So,
immer wieder
especially in our
argumentiert,
topic,
dass Schülerinnen und
IT
Schüler
and
bestimmte
technology,
Themen lernen müssen, damit sie im
students,
Berufsfeld bestehen können.
it's being discussed that students should learn certain skills
diese
to
Ausbildung eher für den
keep up
Berufsalltag an Schulen, die gab's
in
sicherlich schon immer
jobs.
irgendwie.
And like this discussion isn't a new one. It has always been there, and in the past it has somewhat worked, but I think in future it's going to be more difficult. I think in the past it kind of worked because back then you could very well see how jobs are going to be like and could train people for this. But if you look at the present and at the future, jobs are changing very fast, and we can't really tell how they are going to look like when the students are have finished schools. So it's hard for schools to prepare students for an always changing job market, but should be more about general education.
Digitale Mündigkeit, wie wir sie vorgestellt haben, anstreben würden.
Should focus on people knowing how to use the media and how they can use it to be involved in society.
Wenn wir mal zurückblicken,
If we now look back
Chaos macht Schule, Historie.
to our history
Dann
of
haben wir vor 10 Jahren damit
Chaos macht Schule,
begonnen, genau da
Chaos
was
makes
zu tun
school-
und
goes to
Schulen
school.
genau damit zu unterstützen.
we've started
Und als wir damit
helping
angefangen
schools
Vor 10
with
Jahren,
this topic 10
beziehungsweise
years
etwas
ago.
weniger Jahren bei uns, hatten wir eigentlich immer so die Idee im Hinterkopf,
It was
dass
always
das,
our
was wir
idea
tun, etwas Temporäres ist.
that the thing that we
Ja,
do
die
is something transitory.
Technologisierung der Welt, die geht schneller voran als die Bildungspolitik. Ist
Technology
so, kann man
progresses
hinnehmen,
faster
wir helfen
than
ein bisschen.
education,
davon ausgegangen,
politics, and
Dass das Themen sind, die
we somehow
Schule sich zu
expected
eigen machen
that school
wird. Zum einen,
will
weil das ihre Themen
take on
sein
those
sollten.
topics because it
Zum
should be
anderen,
its
weil diese
topics,
Lücke ja auch nicht von Initiativen wie uns oder anderen
and secondly because the gap
aus
cannot be
Kapazitätsgründen
closed
getragen werden
by
kann.
us.
Und es ist aber
because
bewusst
we don't have the
geworden, dass das
capacity.
scheinbar gar nicht so eine temporäre Sache ist,
But now
eben weil die Politik
we've
nicht
realized that
hinterherkommt, weil
this
da
isn't so
keiner
transitory as we
hinterherkommt.
thought because
Und dann eben die
politics
Konzerne
basically
in diese
isn't doing any of
Lücke
it, and
reingehen, was man ja kritisch hinterfragen muss
And
und sollte.
the gap left by politics is being filled by
deswegen
big corporations,
tun
and
wir
that
immer noch
is
was.
something that we say very,
Und
very
neben den
critically.
Workshops, die wir punktuell an Schulen machen, haben wir
And
eben
so,
auch angefangen,
besides the
die
workshops that we
Bildungspolitik
go to schools
quasi
for,
mit einzumischen.
we've started
Deswegen haben wir im Mai diesen Jahres
taking our opinions
unsere Forderungen an die
into
Bildungspolitik
the
veröffentlicht, die
education
Benny auch schon auf der
politics.
Republika
And
vorgestellt hatte.
we've shown them
Wo es
at
zum Beispiel, wo wir
Republica
auch insbesondere
conference.
sagen, stellt die digitale Mündigkeit in den Vordergrund,
We've
macht
demanded
das
to make digital self-determination a central topic.
Schult die Lehrkräfte,
Educate the
entlastet die
teachers,
Lehrkräfte, damit sie das leisten können.
relieve the
Um ein
teachers so
paar
that they can
Details aus
actually
diesen Forderungen noch
do
mal
this.
aufzugreifen.
And these were just some
Ja,
of the
in
demands that
diesem
we made in
Sinne,
May.
Tut was,
In that
mischt
sense,
euch auch in die
do what?
Bildungspolitik ein,
Do
falls
something.
es euch möglich ist, falls ihr vielleicht beruflich da zu tun habt, falls ihr
Make your own
Kinder
contribution
habt,
to
die
education
schulpflichtig sind.
politics.
Wir
If you
würden
have
uns
children
freuen,
that go to
wenn ihr da
school,
mit uns geht und
we
danken
would
euch
hope
für
that
eure
you join us
Aufmerksamkeit und
and
stehen euch
go
für
that path
Fragen
with
und
us.
Antworten zur
And
Verfügung.
now I'm
Dankeschön.
going to be available for your questions and provide you some answers.
Vielen Dank. Ja, wir haben jetzt gute 20 Minuten Zeit für Fragen und Antworten. Ich hoffe,
So
dass
we
ihr
have
genügend
20
Fragen
minutes
mitgebracht habt.
for
Ich hoffe, dass es genügend
Q&As.
Antworten dann
Hopefully
geben
you
wird. Wir
have
haben hier Mikrofone
brought
aufgestellt.
a lot of
Hier vorne stehen
questions
welche
with
in der
you.
Mitte auch hin.
There are microphones
Platziert euch
all around
an
in
den
the hall.
Mikrofonen, stellt eure Fragen.
Just line up
Wer auch
at the
immer das Nahelicht
microphones.
angemacht hat, vielen Dank. Jetzt
Thank you
sehe ich
for
wenigstens, was hier
turning on
passiert.
the lights in the room so I
Ich
can
fange
see
einfach mal hier
stuff.
vorne mit der
So
5
there's
an.
the first question.
Ja, hallo.
Hello,
Mein Name ist Thomas, ich bin auch Lehrer
my
an
name
der
is Thomas.
Berufsschule
I'm
und versuche auch
a teacher at a VT school. So I'm trying to do digital education and digital classes, and with my colleagues, I've realized is that the issue is within the fixed and closed mindset, which means that a lot of teachers have a fixed mindset and are telling themselves that they know everything about their topic and don't have to learn new things. And this is a big hurdle to jump over.
Da ist digitale Bildung noch ganz weit weg. Dass sie halt
If
von
you
sich
look at
selbst sagen, mit sowas beschäftige ich
like
mich nicht,
primary
weil,
school education, this is
hab ja
very
beim
far
Fach
away.
nicht aus. Was habt ihr da für Erfahrungen gemacht? In dem
So,
Bereich?
like, what's your experience with this, with fixed mindsets?
Okay. Ja, also als Lehrer kann ich ja auch.
As a teacher myself,
mache auch Fortbildungen in Baden-Württemberg mit Lehrerinnen.
I do
und Lehrern.
teacher trainings
Soweit habe ich ein
myself.
bisschen Einblick.
and I see some of that, some of what the situation
teilweise
is.
sozusagen, also ja, es gibt
Partly
Leute,
I agree with your assessment.
da ist das so,
There are colleagues
ist
which
schwierig.
do have that
Arbeiten
mindset.
praktisch- Also wir, ich
And with
sag
them
immer,
it is
Schule
difficult.
ist ein bisschen wie eine Käseglocke. Und eigentlich sollte für
The
Schule
school
eher
is
so
a
sein,
little bit
das
like
Abbild
a,
der Gesellschaft im Kleinen, natürlich
a
ein bisschen
bell for,
gefiltert,
under which you
bisschen
keep
ruhiger.
food.
Aber das fehlt, glaube ich, oft,
But
dass,
perhaps it
dass man gar nicht so mitbekommt,
should
was
be
da
more open.
außenrum passiert.
Sometimes
Das erlebe ich auch so, wenn das deine Frage
they
beantwortet.
don't really see what's outside.
Ich darf nicht nachfragen.
Ich würde das aber gerne noch mal kurz
This doesn't
ergänzen. Wir haben uns
quite
auch da viel
answer my
drüber
question.
unterhalten, dass es eben die Lehrer gibt oder Lehrkräfte, die einfach nicht wollen.
So we've talked a lot
Aber
about
natürlich ist das dann
that there are
Problem.
teachers
Was
that
wir ja sagen, ist,
do
dass
not want this.
die Fortbildung von Lehrern eben auch gestärkt
And what
werden
we,
muss.
this is why our demand is to educate the teachers, and
das
to
andere
force them
ist,
to
aus
go to
meiner
those
Sicht, dass wenn man zu sehr darauf
trainings.
guckt, welche Lehrer und Lehrerinnen sich so dagegen sperren, dass das eigentlich den Blick
If you look for which teachers
die wirklich was tun wollen würden,
are
wenn man
against
ihnen mehr
it,
Freiraum dafür geben würde.
then you're missing those teachers that would do more if you gave them the freedom to do so.
Ja, gut. Ihr habt überhaupt keine
the
Informationen
next
zu der
question.
sozialen Spreizung innerhalb
You
der
haven't
Schulsysteme gegeben.
talked about the division within the educational system we have. I've been a computer science teacher for years. I've originally studied mathematics, and so I've educated myself on IT. And I'm from Lübeck, and the financial budget often isn't like going through the policy process. And if you look at the gymnasium, which is the highest type of school where you can have a different degree here in Germany, they get a lot of money because they have a big lobby. But if you look at the other types of schools, which aren't valued as highly, they don't get financial support. And coming from a poor city, this makes it even more tough.
I come from Heidelberg, and Heidelberg is a rich city, and they find it simple, more easy than others to fashion schools with the equipment. But you can see how the Realschule is behind on Informatik or computer science training. There are decisions for the whole state, and then the actual spending of the budget is up to the local communities. And there was a change in the law so that communities could be supported in doing those.
Ja, es ist für Fragen.
But we do see that
Aus dem Internet haben wir eine Frage.
elites are supported more.
Web lässt fragen, gibt es Ansätze
There's a
für
question from the internet.
IT-Anwenderunterricht in der Grundschule?
Are there
Und wenn ja,
good
wo
examples
findet man
for
unaufgearbeitetes Material hierzu?
IT education in the different areas you have talked about for primary schools, and where can you find material for this?
Keine Produktwerbung machen sozusagen.
We don't want to advertise individual products. There's free software that is available.
In Grundschulen, es gibt ein Projekt, das habe ich vorhin beim Namen auch genannt, das war die Calliope Mini. So ein
Calliope Mini is a microcontroller with a blocks programming language.
Aus den USA, Scratch ist sehr bekannt.
There's Scratch from America.
Da gibt es schon Initiativen. Also jetzt
And these are
in
initiatives, open source initiatives.
In anderen wird daran gearbeitet. Also es ist wohl schon Ziel, in Klassenstufe 3 ist es, meine ich, zu schauen,
It is the aim that by
Klasse
third grade an engagement with programming languages happens.
Schule, die Medien, Technik und so weiter tatsächlich in ihrem Curriculum
In Hamburg, I know an elementary school that has media technology part of their curriculum. It doesn't happen in full context, but
wir haben nun bei 16 Bundesländern gefühlte 32
So if you look
Lehrpläne.
at 16 federal states, we can see kind of 32 different educational policies. Which one of those is the most developed regarding digital education? Which one is your favorite kind of state?
Man muss dazu
This is a
sagen,
difficult
dass
question.
Chaosmacht-Schule zum einen dezentral organisiert, zum
Chaosmacht-Schule
anderen
is
machen wir das
organized
in unserer Freizeit,
not as a
so,
central
dass wir
entity,
jetzt
but
alle 16
in a distributed fashion.
Durchgänge oder wie viel es auch immer gibt, durchgearbeitet hätten, um das
And we haven't gone through those
Weil wir uns Baden-Württemberg zum Beispiel rausgepickt
schedules
haben, weil das
individually
das erste
and in a
Bundesland
detailed
war, das
fashion.
dieses Strategiepapier für sich umgesetzt hat.
We're familiar with the strategy paper, but we don't really know how the individual states have implemented it.
Aber der ist ja auch nicht ganz sauber, haben wir extra auch gesagt. Also es gibt wohl in allen...
We did look at the Baden-Württemberg one very closely, and we have earlier mentioned the deficits that it has.
Runtergeht sozusagen. Der Fehler pflanzt sich halt fort auf diesen Medieneinsatz.
Die bitte.
The original problem of
ich heiße Jonas,
the
komme aus
overarching
Berlin,
one
studiere Informatik
calculates down
und
to.
arbeite an der TU Berlin in einem Schülerlabor. Ich habe dadurch viel Kontakt.
So hi, I'm from Berlin and I work with school students at a university, and through my studies at university I'm looking a lot at didactics, so educational theories. So I see issues everywhere. So it's one time, if you, so it's always promised that it will get better, but there isn't a lot happening. So there are methods like flipped classrooms which are well implemented in universities, and like the promises made by politicians.
Deswegen halten wir zum Beispiel auch solche Vorträge hier. Vielleicht kommt es irgendwo
The reason for our talk is
Politik schmeißt Geld auf die Bildung.
the aim of this talk is to gather support and rally support for more money in education.
Nummer 6.
Ja, ganz zu Beginn des Vortrags hieß es, in vielen Fällen sei
In the beginning of the talk you said
vor 30 Jahren
classes are still very similar as they were 30 years ago. So unfortunately, it is the case that there are actually more analphabetical people leaving schools, or people who can't read or write. So there might have been something different. So when you're talking about general education and you look at the basics, classic teaching methodologies, which can be solved with paper, is there more general or like radical approach to say let's keep our hands away from digital technology and actually use old technology to soften this change?
Nein.
Do we have another hour to discuss this?
Auf jeden Fall kann man sagen, es ist kein Argument, dass man zum Beispiel Technik braucht, um Informatik zu unterrichten. Man kann natürlich
I agree that it's not an argument that you need technology in order to teach computer science.
Und sehen, dass man wahrscheinlich einen riesengroßen Anteil analog, sage ich mal, vermitteln kann.
There is a very large portion of the curriculum that you could convey in an analog fashion.
Kann es natürlich auch schon Sinn machen.
But the children do use the devices, and so it makes sense to use them.
Leider vom Elternhaus abhängt.
But a large portion of the chances of the child depend on what the parents are able to provide.
Anderen Grund. Und zwar stellen wir ja auch fest, dass Schüler, ich meine, die
Oh, there's another reason. We find that students privately use technology, and if we don't address those things in school, then this is a deficit. Parents are not schooled in communicating those arguments, and
das heißt, wenn man es komplett auf die private Nutzung
so leaving it entirely up to the parents to address this topic, I would find it difficult.
Raus, es gibt auch noch ein Mikrofon mit der Nummer 2, da stehen die Kameras vor aus meiner Perspektive.
So there's another microphone which is kind of hidden behind the cameras.
Erstmal vielen Dank für diesen Überblick.
Thank you very much for the overview about today's situation. My question is kind of simple. Maybe it also has a simple answer.
Euer Motto ist ja tu wat. Was kann man denn
Your slogan is to what? Do something. What can an individual actually do? Do you have any ideas about this?
Ja, wir haben, wie Dorina schon meinte, wenn ihr vielleicht selber Kinder habt,
as Dorina said, if you yourself have children, during the parents' evening, emphasize those topics, make sure that they are tabled.
Dadurch kommen die natürlich idealerweise auch bei den Kindern an.
Ideally, then this eventually reaches the children. A second thing is,
Schule-Kontext, dass sie gesagt haben, so hier der Papa ist Informatiker, der kennt sich
parents have offered to go into school and talk for a couple of hours.
Wenn die anderen Lehrer an der Schule das nicht können, und man kann sich
if the teachers in school
irgendwelche öffentlichen Diskussionen einmischen. Es gibt ja durchaus
enough
auch andere
schooling.
Orte, an denen
And thirdly, there's many opportunities to participate in public discussion on education.
Kann man einfach bei euch mitmachen?
Ja,
Na klar.
Genau, ich wollte gerade
Can we
ergänzen,
just participate in your
wir haben einige
project?
Forderungen, ich glaube, es war die 5. von 5, außerschulische
The fifth of our demands
Experten hinzuziehen. Also hier
is
sitzen ja auch ganz viele Menschen,
please
oder
start
Kongressen,
including
ganz viele Leute, die
experts
sich gut auskennen, also
into the
sei es
topic.
jetzt im Chaos macht Schule-Kontext, sei es
It could
von
be
Jugendhack oder
the
so,
context
dass
of
man
Chaos
einfach auch
Macht
mal
Schule, our
rausgeht und
project,
vielleicht mal in den Makerspace geht oder so und sich
or
das
it could be
anschaut. Also alleine
taking
das
a
Schulklassen
class
zu machen,
to
die
make a
3D-Drucker gesehen
space
haben, ist das
and
irgendwie
look
auch
at it.
total großartig für die Kids oder mal ein bisschen was zu löten. Also auch das ist noch eine Möglichkeit, dass man über die Elternschaft vielleicht mal so einen Ausflug organisiert und halt nicht ins Schwimmbad geht.
Ja, oder eben sich tatsächlich eine der Initiativen, die es so gibt, rausgucken. Es gibt
Or you can choose one of the initiatives. Chaos Macht Schule is one of them. Jugend hackt, Youth hacks
schauen, wo du da dich an solche
is another one.
Initiativen anschließen
So you
kannst.
can look for some of them and choose one that suits you best and join it.
Komplett Eigeninitiativ zu sagen, ich mache jetzt.
So then you don't have to
Vielleicht noch
start entirely from scratch.
Schule@list.ccc.de ist ja auch angeführt, sowas auch einfach
So
mal fragen,
here's the mailing list,
regionalen
the bottom
Kontext
entry on the
vielleicht
slide
kennen wir den,
where you
können
can
wir einfach
join.
dann auch weitervermitteln oder selbst eben sagen, hier ist ein Erfa und da ist Chaos macht Schule aktiv.
And there you will find many
Wir werden
pointers
vermutlich
to
nicht mehr alle Fragen beantwortet kriegen, aber
existing
immerhin von
initiatives
Mikro 5.
that you could join.
Fantastisch. Hallo?
Lauter.
Hallo?
Sehr schön.
Jetzt. Hi, ich
So,
mache
hello.
ganz kurz
Very
Thema
quickly.
ist Bandbreite. Ich darf
Band voice.
die digitale
That's my
Mündigkeit in
topic.
Schulen und Jugendeinrichtungen
So,
unterstützen und begleiten.
I can
wir stoßen
support
auf die Mauerarbeit 16 Mbit in Berlin,
schools
das ist im Rahmenvertrag
and
geregelt.
youth centers,
Tablet-Klasse im
and
Netz, weil, man kommt
there
nicht
is
ins
a
Internet
limit
mehr.
of 16 Mbits, I think.
Auch im Umgang mit der Bildungspolitik. Wir beißen uns
This is a limit if you have a whole class with tablets.
Da beißen sich
What
viele die Zähne
should we do?
aus. Also nein,
Do you have
also ich hab
any
jetzt,
experience?
Wir haben kein Rezept, was man aus der Tasche ziehen kann.
We don't have a recipe that we can present. We have the same problem. But my hope is the more people raise the problem, the more likely it happens.
Also wir haben einfach in unserem Bund oder in unserem Land haben wir einfach eine Technologie, die vielleicht so.
One of our problems is that the technology that we have set our minds on is vectoring, and it just doesn't help enough.
Dafür waren hauptsächlich die Wanker-Milliarden, meine ich, gedacht. Und die Kommunen versuchen auch aktiv
And
zu
the
werden. aber
Vanker
es ist ja auch so
billions
gesetzliche
were meant to
Bestimmungen, je nachdem, ob ein privater Anbieter am Markt ist und so weiter. Es ist einfach
use those things.
hochkomplex.
And schools are bound to look for private offerings.
Müssen wir den Ball da woanders hinspielen, aber klar ist, dass eben vor allem deswegen vielleicht auf digitale Mündigkeit auch ein bisschen mehr geguckt wird. Da braucht man nicht immer zwingend jetzt ständig Internet dafür.
So it becomes clear that digital self-actualization has become into focus because you don't need so much bandwidth to teach it.
Der Schule sowie die Vermittlung von digitalem Wissen.
Are there any positive signs coming from other countries regarding the digitalization of schools? Are we the only ones, or are there other countries struggling?
We're very slow.
Und genau, ich habe vorhin schon per Zugruf hier Skandinavien gesagt bekommen, das greife ich gerne auf. Also ich persönlich habe einen Freund in Finnland.
I personally have a friend in Finland.
Oder länger mal gesprochen und das finnische Bildungssystem gibt es auch einen ganz interessanten Trailer vom Bildungsministerium. Das
And
mal
in
zu gucken, ist
Finland,
schon irgendwie anders.
there's a trailer from the Education Ministry, and I recommend you watch it. It's very different from here.
Auf die Keynote heute verweisen, wo
Let me refer to the keynote where we quoted Val Holland.
Dass 1984 es schon in britischen Grundschulen Computerunterricht gab.
And he said 1984 in British elementary schools there was computers were being
Okay,
taught.
letzte Frage, Mikro 1.
Last question.
Medienkompetenz, Technikkompetenz ist ja ganz großartig.
So the demand for media competences is an important one, but if it's coming from companies or higher up in politics,
so ein Geschäftsmodell regulieren könnte.
that's a different Okay, so
solche Kompetenzen zu vermitteln. Ich habe das auch schon gemacht.
I myself find it hard to
statt vielleicht zu fragen, wer ist eigentlich jemand anderes. Ich wollte einfach nur fragen, ob ihr da eine gute Strategie habt,
educate people on digital competences without blaming them, but also pointing out that there are other powers at play.
Das Problem zu schaffen. Also wir haben zum Beispiel letztes Jahr haben wir in
It was important to raise awareness for the problem. And last year at the Chaos Congress, we've shown things where complex technical events are made transparent, and then you wonder how, and you are surprised how quickly students understand the implications and become aware of problems like the data retention loss.
Noch Fragen stellen zu können. Vielen Dank für den Vortrag, vielen Dank für die Antworten.
So that's it. The time is up. Thank you for the talk. You've been listening to the translation by Katie and OS 10,000.